If you're on Social Security Retirement SSI or SSDI, you may have noticed something small that's causing a big wave of anxiety, and it's been popping up in comments and messages nonstop. People aren't saying their benefits got cut. They aren't saying the government took money back. In fact, most are reporting the same confusing pattern. My deposit showed up later than usual. It sat as pending longer. I could see it posted, but I couldn't use all of it. Did Social Security change something? So let's get this straight right away before rumors take the wheel. This is not a Social Security cut. This is not a benefit reduction. This is not SSA clawing back money. What's going on is quieter than that, which is exactly why it's throwing so many people off. What's changing is what happens after SSA sends the payment, specifically how banks are handling deposits once the money is already in the system. And if you live on a fixed income, you already know why this matters. Timing isn't a detail. Timing is survival. Rent, utilities, groceries, prescriptions, your money is usually assigned a job the second it arrives. Even a half-day shift can trigger overdrafts, late fees, and a whole lot of stress you don't need. If you want calm, clear breakdowns of real changes like this, without panic, without clickbait, subscribe. The goal here is simple. What's real, what's changing, and what you can do about it. Now, here's the headline in plain language. Social Security is still sending payments on schedule. The SSA payment calendar has not been changed. Wednesday payment groups are still Wednesday. SSI is still paid when it's scheduled. COLA adjustments, benefit calculations, eligibility rules, none of that changed because of this. But once SSA releases your money, it travels through the banking system. And that final step, when you can actually use it, is where the experience is starting to feel different for some people. Think of it like this. Social Security sends the package. Your bank decides when you're allowed to open it. Over the last several months, a lot of banks have quietly tightened their internal processing rules, not because Congress passed something overnight, not because SSA rewrote the program. These are bank-level policy shifts, often tied to fraud prevention, identity verification, compliance and risk controls, updated processing systems, and government deposits like Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and VA benefits are getting caught up in it more than people expected. That's why two people in the same town can have two totally different experiences. One person sees their deposit hit at the usual early morning hour. Another sees it show up later in the afternoon. Someone else sees it stuck pending overnight. Same payment date, same program, different bank handling. And for seniors and disability recipients, this is especially disruptive. I've heard from retirees who line up their rent auto withdrawal for the same morning their deposit always hits. This time, the deposit posted, but the available balance didn't update quickly enough. The rent pulled first. Overdraft fee. Panic. All triggered by a timing gap no one warned them about. I've also heard from SSI recipients who depend on early direct deposit features from their bank. They were used to seeing their funds 1 or 2 days early. This month, it still arrived, just not early. That's a key point. Early access is a bank feature, not a Social Security promise. It can change without warning, even if it worked the same way for years. And this is exactly where misinformation spreads. So let's shut down the biggest false claims right now. No, Social Security is not holding your money. No, your benefits aren't automatically under review because the deposit took longer. No, this isn't a freeze, seizure, or secret audit. No, you didn't do something wrong because it didn't clear instantly. What's happening is a growing gap between when SSA sends the payment and when your bank fully releases access to it. Banks are extending review windows. Some are applying extra screening to certain ACH deposits. Others are flagging accounts that recently changed details, even if those changes are totally normal and harmless. For example, if you recently updated direct deposit info, switched banks, changed your address or phone number, added a joint account holder, enabled overdraft protection, signed in from a new device, made unusual transfers, even legitimate ones, your account could get bumped into an automated verification lane. The money can arrive, get recorded, and still not be fully usable right away. And this is where a lot of people get tripped up. Posted does not always mean available. Those are two different things. When a deposit is marked posted, it means the bank has received it and logged it in your account. The transaction exists, it's acknowledged. But available means you can actually spend it, withdraw it, transfer it, use your card, or have bills successfully pull against it. Sometimes there's a gap between those two stages. It might be a few hours, it might stretch to the next business day. And that gap is what's catching people off guard. This is also why calling Social Security right away often doesn't fix anything. From SSA's perspective, the payment went out. The transaction is complete on their end. They can confirm the release date, but they cannot control how quickly your individual bank makes it spendable. And here's something important. The worst move is often the first move people make when they panic. Switching accounts immediately, opening new banks, moving funds around rapidly. Ironically, that can trigger more verification, not less. What you need first is clarity. What changed, why it changed, who's most likely to feel it, and how to protect yourself from short-term disruptions without assuming the sky is falling. Because this isn't just about this month. These bank processing changes can also affect future situations like COLA increases changing your deposit amount, SSDI back pay or retroactive awards, recalculations or benefit adjustments, and even potential one-time relief payments. If those ever happen again, same system, same screening, same posted versus available confusion, unless you know what you're looking at. So what exactly changed at banks? It wasn't one national announcement. It wasn't one new law. It's been gradual and uneven. Different banks rolled out different updates at different times. But the broad trend is this. Banks have been updating how they process electronic deposits, especially government payments, moving through the ACH system. Here's the simple chain. 1. Social Security sends the payment electronically on the scheduled date. 2. The payment moves through the ACH network, the electronic pipeline banks use. 3. Your bank receives it and decides how quickly to release it into your available balance. Step 1 didn't change. Step 3 is where you're feeling the difference. For years, some institutions made government deposits available almost instantly. Some even marketed "get paid early" as a selling point. But again, that early availability was always discretionary, a bank perk, not a guarantee. Now, many banks are being more cautious, and the caution shows up in a few common ways. Longer review windows. Banks are taking more time to confirm deposit details before releasing full access, especially if their system sees something that doesn't match a new risk model. Stricter identity account verification. If anything about your account profile has changed, automated systems may run extra checks before funds become spendable. Different hold thresholds. Deposits that used to breeze through because they looked routine may now get reviewed, especially if the amount changes due to COLA, an adjustment, or a supplemental payment. Let's put this into real-world examples because that's what people are reporting. Example 1, a retiree usually gets their Wednesday deposit around 3 a.m. during overnight processing. This month, the deposit doesn't show until early afternoon, 2 or 3 p.m. That's still on time by SSA standards, but it can throw off rent drafts, insurance pulls, and bill payments timed to the morning. Example 2, SSDI back pay. Someone normally receives around $1,200 to $1,500 a month. Then an $8,000 or $12,000 retroactive deposit arrives after an approval. A bank system sees that as high risk simply because it's a large jump, so it pauses it for verification. The payment isn't rejected, it's not being taken away, but the delay feels terrifying if no one explains what's happening. Example 3. Online-only banks and prepaid card accounts. These are heavily automated, and when fraud detection algorithms get updated, timing shifts can feel sudden. A deposit that used to clear at midnight might now clear at noon or later without a human ever touching the transaction. And here's another detail people don't always consider. Banks didn't all update at the same time. A national bank may have changed processes months ago. A credit union may have rolled updates later. A community bank may still be on older systems. That's why your experience can differ wildly from someone else's, even with the same benefit type and payment date. Now, there's also a rumor circulating that needs to be addressed clearly. There is no new federal rule giving banks the power to take your Social Security or delay it indefinitely. Federal protections for Social Security benefits still exist. In general, banks can't seize those funds for typical consumer debts like credit cards, medical bills, or personal loans. Those protections haven't suddenly disappeared. What banks can do is apply temporary holds for verification. And while that's frustrating, especially when your budget has no breathing room, these holds are usually short. For most people experiencing this, delays are measured in hours, maybe up to the next business day. not weeks and not permanent loss. So who's most likely to be affected? Not everyone will notice anything. Some people will see deposits hit exactly like always. But certain groups are reporting more timing changes right now, SSI recipients. SSI often arrives right at the start of the month, and many people schedule essential bills to pull immediately because there's no buffer. If availability shifts even briefly, it can cause late fees, overdrafts, or shut-off fears. SSI deposits can also be more likely to be flagged when account details recently changed because banking systems sometimes treat smaller, tightly patterned deposits differently. SSDI recipients receiving back pay or adjustments. Large one-time deposits are the classic trigger for automated review. Again, not because your claim is wrong, but because large deposits are a common fraud target. People using online-only banks or prepaid debit cards. Automation can make processing changes feel unpredictable. When rules tighten, timing can shift without explanation. Joint accounts and accounts with recent profile updates. Adding a spouse, caregiver, or adult child. Updating a name after marriage. Adding power of attorney. Changing beneficiaries after a death. These are normal life events, but they can increase verification checks around deposits. Even small things, new phone number, new address, logging in from a new device, can matter when combined with a government deposit arriving shortly afterward. Now here's what you should watch for, so a small delay doesn't become a financial emergency. First, check whether your deposit is pending or posted. Then, this is the most important part, check your available balance. Because the available balance is what determines whether your debit card works, withdrawals go through, transfers clear, automatic bill payments succeed. If the deposit is posted but your available balance doesn't reflect it yet, that usually means a routine hold or verification review is happening. In many cases, it clears by the end of the day, often within 6 to 24 hours. A smart rule: if you see posted but not available, give it until the end of the business day before you assume something is wrong. And another reminder that helps reduce panic: a deposit that usually appears at 3 a.m. but shows at 2 p.m. is still considered on time because Social Security's schedule is based on the date, not the hour. Now here's what not to do, because these are the exact choices that often create bigger problems. Don't switch banks immediately out of fear. New accounts trigger new verification steps and can delay future deposits. Don't open multiple accounts hoping one clears faster. That can look suspicious and invite more review. Don't start moving large amounts between accounts right after a government deposit. Rapid transfers can trip fraud alerts. Don't assume SSA messed up before checking your bank first. Most of the time, the payment was sent correctly. Instead, do this step by step. If the deposit is posted but not available, wait and recheck later, that day or the next morning. If it's still not available the next business day, call your bank and ask a targeted question. Don't lead with, "Where's my money?" Lead with something that directs them to the exact issue. "I see my Social Security deposit posted on date, but it isn't showing in my available balance. Is it under routine verification, and when should full access be released?" That wording signals you understand the process and gets you a clearer answer. Many reps can tell you when the hold lifts, and sometimes they can expedite if you explain bills are due. If the deposit doesn't show at all after the scheduled payment date has fully passed, meaning the next day and there's no record, not even pending, then it makes sense to contact Social Security to confirm the payment release date and verify your direct deposit info. Now let's talk protection, because budgeting around timing changes can save you from fees and stress. If your bills are set to autopay on deposit day, consider pushing them back 1 or 2 days. That small buffer can prevent overdrafts and late charges. A lot of landlords, utilities, and service providers will adjust your draft date if you ask, especially if you've paid reliably before. Moving rent from the 1st to the 3rd, for example, can give your deposit time to fully clear. Set deposit alerts in your bank app so you know when the payment arrives. But remember, an alert doesn't always mean funds are usable immediately. Always check the available balance before spending or letting bills pull. And if you've been relying on early pay features, shift your planning to the official payment date. Treat early access as a bonus, not a guarantee. Banks can change those perks anytime, for any reason. This is also a good moment to make sure your information matches everywhere. Social Security has your correct name, address, and contact details. Your bank has the same up-to-date information. Even small mismatches, an old address on one file, a slightly different name spelling can increase the chance of a verification hold. Now, the reassurance you need to hear: for most people, this issue is temporary. It's about access timing, not lost benefits, not canceled payments, not money being taken away. Banks are adjusting their systems because fraud is more sophisticated than ever, and the industry is tightening controls across digital payments. Government deposits are getting extra scrutiny because criminals target them, and banks are trying to stop theft before it happens. That's the larger trend. And it means future payments might sometimes feel different too, especially when something changes, like a COLA increase, a recalculation, a larger than usual back pay deposit, or any unusual one-time payment. But here's what is not changing, and this matters just as much. The Social Security payment calendar still stands. Eligibility rules haven't suddenly been rewritten. Your benefit amount isn't reduced because of bank policy. SSA isn't secretly delaying payments for fun. SSA sends the money as scheduled. The shift is happening after that, inside the banking side of the pipeline. So the key takeaway is simple. This is about timing and availability, not losing what you're owed. Once you plan for that reality, building in a buffer, checking available balance, and asking the right questions, you stay in control instead of getting blindsided. And I want to hear from you, because the real-world pattern matters. If you've noticed deposits arriving later, staying pending longer, or early access stopping, leave a comment with your state or region. Are you seeing a few hours of delay? Overnight pending? Posted but not available? Your experiences help other people understand they're not alone, and they help us separate facts from fear. Drop your questions in the comments too. If you're worried, there's a good chance someone else is staring at their banking app feeling the exact same thing. This channel isn't about panic, it's about clarity, because when you have clarity, you have options. You earned these benefits. They're part of your foundation, and understanding how deposits move today helps you protect that foundation tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.